Okay, I'm going to kick off. Hello everybody. Welcome to this Q&A with artist and filmmaker Jeanie Finlay and costume designer Finlay-Thompson. I'm Eleanor Thornley. I work at Broadway Cinema and I'm the manager of Film Hub Midlands, part of the BFI UK Film Audience Network, which is supporting UK exhibitors, and also in partnership with BFI Network, Film Hub Midlands. So all of those things are available to follow on at Film Hub Midlands, at Network FHM, and of course please follow at Not Stopping, of which this is part of the Not Stopping Festival across Nottingham, celebrating the diversity and culture and wonderfulness of this, my hometown. Guys, thank you so much for coming and letting us into your literal homes. It's very exciting, I think, for us to talk to you, particularly, obviously, both of you working in film and coming from the same household. So I think there's quite a lot of kind of interesting stuff to mine there. But first I want to draw attention to this beautiful animated holding slide that made Claire and Jeanie through the years. Always glamorous, I think, is a key.
The goth stage is quite funny.
Yeah, I think goth is glamour. So as part of this, we're going to kick off just kind of overviewing both of your careers, just so that everyone's got a flavour of the kind of incredible journey you've both been through. So do you want to, Jeanie, kick off your slideshow and maybe the two of you can...
I'm going to activate my finger to do the, it's very technical. I'd like to thank you for inviting us to do this, because I've actually got dressed today, probably.
I know, it's like makeup and everything.
I know, it's like the first time. How long is it? 7 weeks, 8 weeks? Anyway, okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you some slides of some of the amazing work that Claire's been doing. So do you want to just tell us about what they are?
So this is on a costume truck when we did the League of Gentlemen special up north in Glossop, which was quite fun. So yeah, Jeanie came to visit. So Gavin and Stacey, which I did for 3 seasons, and this is when they're on the beach, which is actually one of my favourite episodes. I love it. It's really funny. I just love them in the heat. So this is Nighty Night, which is one of my first costume designing jobs, and it really launched my career. So I met Ruth and Mark, who I worked with for a long time and still work with now. So it means a lot to me, Nighty Night.
And there's Jill in a trademark red.
Yes, so she was always in red and everyone else was always like in a kind of like low colours behind and broken down, and she was also, you could always see where she is.
Here's Jill again.
I actually made these 2 costumes, and the one that Mark's wearing was supposed to be like Little Lord Fauntleroy, but out of the dressing up box. So I made it in the car park in Cornwall, and the little hat. I've still got it somewhere, and then I made this hat for Julia as well.
It's an incredible hat.
I've still got that somewhere as well.
I don't think you've ever thrown anything away ever. I keep seeing like characters wearing glasses, and I think I'm pretty sure that's what our mum wore.
Yeah,
in their mum's glasses.
Yeah, in League of Gentlemen, 2 pairs we used on Ollie Plimsolls. This is In Betweeners. We did the film which went to Australia, which was really fun but kind of crazy, because for my first big features, and we had to take the whole shebang to Australia, and we went to the outback. It was just crazy but really fun, and made some really good close work friends that you work with still and still talk to now, and it's really nice. This is Miss You Already, which was another great, lovely job for me to do. And working with Drew and Tony, who are just amazing, really fun, and loved doing the costumes for this because it was just really great. And the production designer got me in on the job, and she's someone I've worked with. I've done show dogs with her and lots of other things, and festival. And we worked really closely together, and kind of, it was a lifestyle porn. So me and Amanda, like the 2 of us, I don't know, there's something magical when you walk on one of her sets, and it's really nice to chuck costumes in there as well. It's great fun. And this was Official Secrets, which was period film, like more recent period. So it was interesting to kind of capture that sort of early noughties look, and it's something that everyone knew, like everyone can remember. You've probably all marched. It's something that's very real, and to capture it in a way that, you know, wasn't a parody of what was going on because we're doing real people, but to just kind of take a slice of the life. It was really, I really loved doing that film. It was just brilliant. And then this is one of my favourite jobs and still is, and everybody who worked on this was just like, loved it. And everyone, we still talk about it now, and it is just like, we all adored it, and we still talk about it. Just go to work and there's just dogs everywhere, and just like little cuddles every day, because each dog was like 2 or 3 dogs. So there was 3 Rottweilers, 2 Australian Shepherds, 2 or 3 pugs, I can't remember. And so yeah, there was just loads. As every dog, there was more than 1 dog. So yeah, it was just dogs everywhere, and it was really fun. And we got to go to Las Vegas, which again was interesting, filming there with even more dogs. And it was just really, it was really cool. It was a really, really the funnest job ever. Doing fittings with the pugs on the truck is one of the highlights of my life.
Can I just say, when she was doing this film, I would get these texts, and it would be like, what do you think of this? And it would be like a dog in a costume, or Claire's dogs wearing like trial costumes, or just pictures of Claire with the Beverly Hills Chihuahua. It was like,
yeah,
God, your life is so different.
We do dog of the day, and so like send out pictures. And then there was like friends of ours, we'd just done a film in Brazil, and they were on another stage next to us, and they were doing something, you know, really brutal about the Syrian war. So they used to come to us for a bit of dog therapy and cuddles, and sort of like come and have a little stroke of all the cute things, because they were like, we're doing another beheading and I can't bear it. And we're like, woo, dogs and sparkle and big headdresses. It was really fab. It was another highlight. It was really fun. Yeah, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I put this in because this is when we borrowed the glasses from Tubbs.
Yeah, so this is, these are some League of Gentlemen special glasses.
So yeah, we were on set and couldn't resist wearing them.
But you make them look not League of Gentlemen-y. You've elevated them.
So this picture is just in to let us know that we're going to look at some of the films that I've made. So this is my crew. This is my male crew on Game of Thrones: The Last Watch. On my last few films, I've worked with like 70% female crew, and then we had this photo taken by Helen Sloan, who's the amazing photographer at Thrones, and it was the day when all the boys were in. And this is Frank the dog. Every production should have a dog. Yeah. So yeah, I've made 8 feature documentaries. I started off as an artist, made artwork for many years, and when I was 6 months pregnant, I got my first television commission, and it was to make this film Teenland, which sort of went through all the stages of BBC4, and I thought, you know what, they're going to commission me to make a 15-minute film, 20-minute film, and the commission was to make Teenland, which is about 4 teenagers that spend all their time in their bedroom, which is something we can probably all relate to right now. And I was sat there very heavily pregnant, and the commissioner just said, yep, 60 minutes, go on, off you go. I mean, he said some swearing, but I'm not going to say that. But I was thrown in at the deep end so much. I'd been an artist prior to this, and as soon as I made a film, I went out on TV and I sort of engaged with the audience. I was just like, that's it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I've just loved it. So I've put my foot down and just really concentrated on making films, focused on getting stuff done, doing the next film. So after that, I made this feature, Goth Cruise, which is about 150 people in black on a neon lit cruise ship, a massive cruise ship going to Bermuda on holiday. And it's sort of about, can you be at your most gothic on a neon lit floating shopping mall, basically. And this is currently available to watch for free on my website, which is just jeaniefinlay.com, because yesterday was World Goth Day. Who knew? So we made it available for free for a week. Sound It Out, which lots of people think is the first film I made, but I guess it's the first film that really got shown in lots of countries. And after a really big production of making Goth Cruise, because I had 2 units, I shot a lot of this on my own, and my husband Stephen shot some of it. But it's basically in the last record shop in Teesside, and it's 3 miles from where we both grew up. And I was spending a lot of time at home because our mum was very ill. She had breast cancer, and I was supporting her through going to some of her chemotherapy, and I was actually filming her, and it was just really depressing. So I used to go and hang out in the shop, and the shop was a haven, and I just sort of thought, this is a haven for everyone who's in here. I'm going to make a film about it, because it's an opportunity to make a film about what home means and what music means. And I love this film so much. It was such a joy. I made Great Hip Hop HODs, which was for BBC Storyville, and it's about the naughtiest, loudest mouth rappers to come out of Los Angeles around the same time as Eminem. But what no one realised was that they were these they were rappers from Scotland that people called the rapping proclaimers as an insult. And so they decided to reinvent themselves as American rappers, even though they'd never set foot on American soil. So they made their accents from what they'd seen on MTV. And as soon as I read about this story, I was just like, I have to make this film. It's just, yeah. What a wild ride. It took like 4 years. This one took 6 years to make. I mean, I'm making all these films, I make them at the same time. So when I was in America touring Sound It Out, I would phone up my cameraman and he would come and get me, and I'd start shooting another interview for this. So this ended up being a BBC Storyville. I took it to cinemas, and it's about the man behind the mask, the man that hundreds of thousands of people believed was Elvis back from the grave. Panto, which I made in Nottingham. While I was editing Hip Hop Hoax, I used to go and film the rehearsals of Panto. So it's about the lowest budget pantomime in Nottingham, and it's about the People's Theatre Company, because they were making Puss in Boots. And so it's an observational portrait, I would say. But oh my God, I loved making this film. So
it's such a heart warmer as well. It's just the perfect film to wrap your presents to every year.
I always wanted to make a Christmas film, and I go to this pantomime on George Street every year, and I had this sort of like flash of lightning one year. Oh my God, I've got to make a film about this. It's one of a kind. Seahorse, The Dad Who Gave Birth, which went out on BBC Two and was in cinemas last year. It's coming out in America on Father's Day in June. But it tells the story of Freddie McConnell and his journey to become a father as a trans man. So he got pregnant, and I was there for every step of the way. And then the last film, which came out about a year ago.
Yeah.
I made Seahorse and The Last Watch. Yeah, well, I made both of these last 2 films at the same time, so it's sort of the timeline's sort of confused. But I was embedded on the final season of Game of Thrones, and this was just an epic, massive film. But I was just looking to make small, heartwarming stories within the world's biggest canvas, the world's biggest TV show. And we got an Emmy nomination, which was amazing. Hannah Peel's fantastic score. So yeah. So those are the films I've made, and I've got another, there's always stuff in the background that we're making and getting on with.
It's quite a whistle-stop tour. Obviously we'll come back and talk a little bit more detail with both of you about those things. Jeannie, do you want to talk about a little bit why you've included this wonderful picture? For those of you who don't know, these are the projection these are the projection boxes in Screen 2 of Broadway. So the projectors, we get everyone who's famous or who comes in to sign our projectors. And there's Jeannie signing yours, which I think was a pretty big moment.
I just cried my eyes out, because the Broadway really means a lot to me. I went to see a film at Broadway, Mike Leigh film, in the second week of university, and I walked in, I was like, God, this place is amazing. A year later, I started working behind the bar. Then I was the chef. Then I was box office assistant. Then I was the front of house manager. And then I got an office there. I took an office there, joined the board of directors, and left working for Broadway. So I was on the board for 10 years. But so now I've got an office. I go, when Broadway's open, I go in every day and sit in my office and plan and edit and make films, and just absolutely love being there because I can go and watch a film. I can see my friends in the bar. I can bump into you, Eleanor, or it's just a really brilliant creative hub. You know, there's other filmmakers in the building like Wellington Films. My husband, Stephen Shield, who runs the Mayhem Film Festival. So it was
and how important do you think that is, though, to be amongst that instead of working from literally home, obviously which you're doing now, but
yeah, I think it's really important. I think Broadway's always been a space where you can see a film and talk about film, and just, you know, you see the posters of what's coming up, so you get a real sort of insight into what's happening and what's exciting. When I got to do this, the front of I think it was Mark on the front of house brought me the pen and said, "Come on, it's time." I was like weeping because it meant so much. You know, it's a really important part of my life, really. I'll get weepy, like, because I miss it so much. I mean, I just don't, you know, it's fine working from home, you know, it's no great hardship, but I think it's really good to have a separate space to be.
Definitely.
And I like having times in my day which are really social, and then times where I can just be like quiet and just concentrate and think about what I'm doing, or go for a wander around Hockley and then come back.
Do you have that too then, Claire? Do you work elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, most of my work isn't at home, really. It's kind of out, it's on the trucks, it's at the studios. So yeah, I'm kind of rarely work from home apart from early prep when there's nowhere to go. So yeah, that's when I work from home. I've actually turned the top bedroom into kind of a work room so that I've got like a creative outlet during lockdown, because I need to make things. I need to do something creative that isn't just cooking. So yeah, I kind of made myself a little.
You made me this mask.
Then done. Yeah, I've been making masks, of course. This one matches my dress. An eye mask as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I've made this dress, and I've made my head. I made a head. I started out making animals and puppets and things like this. So I made this just to kind of, I've fallen in love with sewing again, and I kind of just wanted to remember that I could still make things like this.
Amazing.
So I decided to.
What are you going to do with that?
I want to mount it on the wall so it's like a faux taxidermy thing, and maybe put it above a door.
Some kind of faux horror Halloween situation.
Yeah. I mean, you can't see through it. Like that. But yeah, you know, I painted all the eyes and did it all like when I used to do this. So it was quite nice to kind of, and I like I said, fall in love with sewing again. It's been really nice, actually. That's really nice, because I started out making things, and I sort of designed through a kind of a maker's way, if that makes sense. That kind of
segues us really nicely to talking. I think what would be really interesting to talk about is obviously the film industry is notorious for running on nepotism and connections and money, and you know, so obviously you guys are clearly related to hugely famous. I find it very interesting that you've both achieved quite amazing stuff, and you're both hugely respected in your crafts. Coming from well, talk to me about, is your house a ball of creative people doing art?
I think our parents are quite I mean, they're really supportive, and they come and see everything now. No, our mum is super supportive. My dad, you know, our dad is as well, but I think he was a bit more confused.
Yeah, he would have loved us to join the army. Come on, he would have loved that. One of the three of us to join the army would have been
an army, a doctor.
That's probably worth mentioning. Your brother, of course, is a chef, which is another very creative profession.
Also, chef. He also does music, so he wrote the soundtrack to the Great Hip Hop Hits. It's very cool. But yeah, I mean, it was not a given at all. We went to a really big comprehensive in Teesside, and it was only when I started sort of working in film that I realised, oh yeah, everyone went to boarding school. This is wild. And our comprehensive education seemed quite exotic, but
Yeah.
it was very much, it was super supportive. So, you know, there was an orchestra. I got cello lessons till I was 18 for free. I got a free cello, and the art department was amazing. So we had, I mean, it just sort of, I really believe that arts education is absolutely vital, really, really important. Yeah. And it's something that we really benefited from. You know, our final show when I was 18 was an exhibition, like a proper exhibition in a gallery. And our orchestra played at the Royal Festival Hall. So even though we were in this big comp in Teesside, the aspirations were really big.
Huge.
And it made you sort of feel like you could just do it. It would be okay. It made me feel like a career in the arts was not just possible, you could just do it. You know, there's a saying in the Northeast, shy bands get now. And I suppose I always just sort of felt, well, why not? Why not? Let's just ask for stuff, or let's just have a go. And we both went to art college I went in Middlesbrough and Claire went in Hartlepool, which is it's now called the Northern School of Art. I think it's the largest, isn't it the largest art college dedicated art college outside of London? Yeah. So I did Fine Art Foundation.
And I did a costume kind of foundation, enough to apply away. Because I kind of went the drama route. Because I remember not being allowed to do art and drama, and I preferred drama.
Oh, no, so yeah,
I was only allowed to have one thing. So I picked drama, but then was like too shy to go on stage. And then that's how I got working backstage and doing costume and that kind of thing. And I was always kind of just average at everything. And then I did costume, and because I wanted to be a writer, and I did costume like when I was about 18. I just made something, and everyone was like, oh my god, it's really good. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And so I just took a year out and made this big portfolio. And I was lucky enough to get into Wimbledon College of Art. At that time was the only place that did a degree. There was that and the London College of Fashion. And I was lucky enough to get into both. I went to Wimbledon because it was a degree, and it was quite small. And and Wimbledon changed my life, because Hazel Pethig, who was a Monty Python costume designer, interviewed me to get in. And then when I was in my second year, I think, I did work experience with her on a film called Fierce Creatures, and that's why I started making creatures. And I know I only got that position, the work experience, because I had a car. So like my mum gave me her old car, which was called Huey, and it was terrible. And you know, there's no sat nav. I used to have to drive from South London to Pinewood Studios, pick all the department up. I had a compass on the front of my car to get myself around London, and an A to Z. And I know I only got it for that, but from doing that and working at Pinewood, that's how I got that started my career. So I worked through art college to kind of pay for my collections and all my work, because obviously we needed to earn money. And then when I left, I just carried on working, and it just, from then it kind of went, work breeds work. So I kind of, goes hand in hand from that, really.
Well, Claire, it'd be really interesting. I mean, I think when I think clothes and I think film, I think that sounds massively glamorous, and you get to touch celebrities.
Not anymore.
Literally touch them. But I suppose there's probably a huge amount of misconceptions around what it is a costume designer does, and what the wardrobe department brings in terms of character creation. So it'd be really interesting, I think, to hear a little bit about how does that work? How does the process work? And what does your job practically entail?
I mean, practically it's a lot of getting up early, and it's a lot of just being kind of, you know, being nice and kind and sort of getting on with people. A lot of my job is obviously there's the creative side, and your ideas is what will get you the job, but then you bring a team with you, and my team's so important to me that's all part of it. And we have this kind of thing, we sort of say it's a CFT way of working, that we're kind of, you know, be nice, help other departments, work as a design team with the production designer and the makeup designer. It's really important to kind of project the characters themselves. And I obviously use the script, I talk to the writers, talk to the director, but then also talk to the other HODs about how it's going to look all together as a kind of the whole vista. But yeah, each job's completely different, and you get a sense as soon as you're working of how it's going to work. But between doing comedy and then something like Official Secrets, I only work in one way, but I just adapt it. Like, I don't do, comedy, it's not all like, woo, kind of clown costumes, and then, very serious for Official Secrets. It's just one way to work, but you just adapt it to the job, the time, the money, all of those things, really.
Because I just suppose that, you think about a film like In-Betweeners, where you look at the picture and it's like lads wearing teen lads' clothes, and then all the way to something like Up the Women, which you did, which was, suffragette Edwardian. Obviously, that's quite a massive, and then dogs, obviously. Let's never forget the teeny dog costumes. So, you say it's the same way of working, but obviously there must be a huge amount of different research between a job like the In-Betweeners and Up the Women, or is it not?
No, I mean, for me, it's like there's, in a way, for contemporary is much harder to do because it's everyone, gets up, gets dressed, they've got an opinion. Whereas with period, if you can only afford to hire something, then you're very limited to what's in the hire houses. If you're lucky enough, I've had a few jobs where you can make everything from scratch, or like weave the fabric or that kind of thing, then you can design something really extraordinary. But people are always like, with period, they're like, oh, it's amazing. But actually contemporary is much harder because everyone's got an opinion. And, those 4 boys in the In-Betweeners, like, one of them changes. The snowball effect of all of them, you've got to kind of, we do lots of last minute changes on set sometimes because you get up, you don't like the lineup, so we'd like kind of trundle a rail behind us, and we change one, you've got to change them all, and that happens quite a lot. So I think being flexible is like, and not being like throwing your toys at the camera going, I want that red t-shirt on them, just being going, yeah, actually I can see what you mean, and kind of working with people and offering up options and not being kind of, I don't know, annoyed and angry, I suppose. I've worked with quite a few costume designers like that, so I try not to be like those people.
I went to visit Claire on set once, and she was in her truck, and one side of the truck were people ironing basically pornographic cartoon t-shirts for the In-Betweeners, because they were going on a stag weekend, and the other side of the truck was Up the Women, so it was all corsets, bustles, and it was like all the same team, just getting on, doing it all. I was like, this is crazy.
Well, as we're debunking myths, Jeanie, I think it would be quite interesting to hear from you around doc making. I know I've heard you say many times around the world, fly on the wall filmmaker, fire a wall film, that you're no fly, and that this idea, the documentary stuff happens and you just are magically there to capture it. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, and obviously the process, but just what I'm gonna share a screen again, if that's okay.
Let's see if I can do this. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Okay, so we're just gonna we can come back to Nessa if you want. Let's
come back to Nessa.
Nessa's a wedding dress that Claire dreamt of. Every single frame that appears in a documentary is something that I thought about, or you get to know people and you're always trying to find the small moments and reflect that on screen. And some of these things they're super considered. So I had a dream as well. Claire has dreams about dresses and makes them. I had a dream about masked man walking through a field of light, and I found this gallery that I really wanted to put my masked man into, and so I had to fly to Norway. It's Roger Notfell, he's a Nottingham cameraman. We had to film with them to make that happen. But I guess what I'm talking about when I sort of say I don't agree with fly on the wall is, I'm a 5'7" woman with a massive camera, and documentary filmmaking is about gaining people's trust so that they will have the generosity to share their best and their most intimate moments with you. And the camera is a contract. The camera is there to witness it. And what you're experiencing is the relationship that I've built with the people that are in my films. The idea of a fly on the wall is just, it's a joke, you know, like people are wearing radio mic, we're putting radio mics on people. My camera, the camera's really big. You know, it's really tricky, you know, and a lot of the time you have to negotiate really hard to get into places. So like when I made, when I told Freddie's story in Seahorse, I was there to film the birth of his child, but that took, you know, Andrea, the producer, and I travelled to Margate Hospital to talk to the midwives because we were told we couldn't film in the hospital. And I went down and took my camera with them and showed them how small it was and talked to them about the sort of films that I make, because I sort of feel like your back catalogue of films is really important so that people trust you and they know that you're not going to stitch them up. You're going to portray their story with integrity and protect them in the edit as well. So that just feels like super important, you know, and also like actually getting there, the logistics of actually getting a camera into a delivery room where I'd been told that if I got in the way of the birth, then I had to leave at any moment. So I'm sort of like hustled in the corner with a paparazzi lens and, you know, fitted a camera over the birthing pool. You know, we nearly didn't get there because my geography is so bad because I got us lost on the way to the hospital. He's in labour and I'm trying to like get in the suite. And yeah, and then had to just sort of film this while crying the whole time because it was so emotional. I'd been following him trying to get pregnant and have this baby. So yeah, fly on the wall. I mean, if it's Big Brother, yeah, it's fly on the wall. But yeah, this ain't happening. I'm just showing some images here. Some of these were shot in Nottingham, but there's some of the images from Seahorse, and they're trying to sort of like get an idea of tone. I've put a few images together which are sort of, you know, people think that filmmaking is glamorous. So there are moments. So this is the Tribeca Film Festival. This is Claire on the green carpet for the world premiere of the festival in London. And I got to go to the Emmys last year and meet Brooklyn Heights and Nina West. I'm here with Hannah Peel, who's the composer from Game of Thrones The Last Watch. But I would say like the reality of making documentaries or anything that Claire does, this is the thing that we've got in common is you get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, you spend your life carrying Peli cases, lifting stuff, doing car Tetris, and just being freezing. This is a shot from Dubrovnik when we were filming Game of Thrones The Last Watch, and there was basically thunder and lightning and we were about to all just get like taken off set because it was quite dangerous. And it was just freezing, you know. This is us up in Dubrovnik, getting packed by, you know, getting followed by the paparazzi. There's always a dog there to hassle you. Oh, and these are some of Claire's suitcases.
It's just, you know, me travelling light. People are like, are they all your clothes? I'm like, yeah, of course. Oh my, no, they're costume. This is actually a small load. But yeah. Ooh. There's always a lot.
So yeah. Do you get stuck in customs and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we've had, when we went to the DR last year, we had all of the suitcases taken. When I flew out to fit Will Arnett for Show Dogs, I was only there for like a day. I got pulled into kind of customs police in LA airport, and they were questioning me. They searched everything and they were like, you're going to sell this stuff in here, and why are you just here for a day? Why have you got 5 suitcases? I was like, I'm doing Film About Dogs. I'm fitting our lead actor. Showed them some pictures of the dogs, and the dogs got me out of LA ex-police, customs police, whatever. But, you know, it was like, you know, catalogue disasters, rails break. It's, you know, it's fun. It's a lot of dragging rails around, a lot of like, this is a kind of a thing in the DR when we did the shark film. It was just a metal box that they strung up racks in, and, you know, in the morning, sometimes all the stuff would be on the floor, and, you know, we'd come in the morning and we'd be like, oh, the clothes still going to be there, and we'd have to rope everything down every night and pack down the truck because the truck moves, and if you don't if you don't do that, you come in the morning, it's just all like a big jumble, and you have to stop filming, and it takes ages to do it. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Not so much the glamour.
When did you both feel like this was a sustainable, or do you feel like this is a sustainable career? Like, when did you both kind of decide? I mean, obviously, Jeanie, you talked a little bit about after making Teenland and being like, this is what I want to do. But do you kind of feel, obviously, it's increasingly hard to get films financed, or, you know, just in general, our budget's getting smaller, you know, does it feel, when did it kind of go, okay, this is my career, this is what I want to do, and does it still feel sustainable to you both?
Want to answer this, Claire?
Well, I mean, luckily I worked earlier, and I started from like trainee, and I've done every job in the department, so there's always a way of kind of moving up. I was supervising like feature films when I decided it was less about creativeness and more about the budget. So I decided that's when I wanted to design, and that's when I started to do Nighty Night. And you know, that's a switch, but it's always, for me, I've always managed to pay my rent and mortgage and work. So it's always been, since I left art college, really, there's a way of kind of, you know, a way to earn money. You know, it is, you know, my first job was at the King's Head. They need sewers, so they were paying us £5 an hour to go and sew, and we just sat in the bar making these costumes. And so for me, sewing was a way to always kind of supplement like either my art college or you know, food. So yeah, I'm lucky that work's always sort of come to me. So yeah, it's
I think for me, I think I'd find it a lot tougher starting out now, because I guess I've got to a point in my career now that I've been able, like, I can have a meeting with a funder, a broadcaster, and just say, look, I'd really like to make this. What do you think? Is there a slot available for that on TV? Or I can think creatively. You know, if you doing things like Game of Thrones, because it was such a big job, it was like, you know, it was seen in 180 countries. I think it's made me more of a safe bet. I'm an easier sort of safer pair of hands, especially. I think what's going to come out of COVID is that there's going to be less money around. People are going to be much more risk averse. But I think for the thing that we both got in common is that we have to be nimble and change and respond creatively to the situation. You know, I've been filming. I was supposed to be in America in March. I was out there in February. I left a camera out there because I was so confident I was going to be back 3 weeks later. And so what I've had to change up what I'm doing. I can't wait for things to go back to normal, because there isn't no normal. This is, you know, things have shifted. So the woman I'm making a film about, it's a secret, so I can't tell you what it's about, but the woman's really brilliant. And what I've done on using Zoom is I've been able to interview her using Zoom, but also I've taught her how to use the camera. So I'm still directing, but she's moving the camera. So I give her a shot list and we talk about what she's doing, and it makes me sort of feel, I don't know, it just feels good to sort of keep on going and do stuff. But I'm also developing another film that is predominantly archive, because I sort of feel, especially for me, because I spend so much time in close proximity to people, that's quite risky at the moment. So actually I just need another project that I can do. But yeah, I think times are, I think it's going to be very hard, but also I know that some of the greatest art comes out of adversity. And so, you know, I'm hopeful, and I'm very grateful that we living in Nottingham, you know, the space. I'm so lucky that we've got a garden, you know, we can afford a garden and afford a good space and have green spaces to go to. It all sounds, you know, it just means that our quality of life is better. And I think that's one of the things that's always enabled me to sustain a creative career. It meant that, you know, our overheads were so lean. And in the early days, I didn't have to earn an enormous amount of money to keep going, but could just focus on filmmaking.
And how important is something like having an agent? You know, I assume you both have agents, and you know, it's something that I think particularly people starting out is like, how do you get an agent? And what? So is there kind of, you know, how you know, both of you, Claire, how did you get an agent, and how much difference does that make to helping you have a sustainable career?
Well, I mean, I really love my agents because they're very creative and lovely, and I feel like they're very supportive. And since I haven't been with them for like years and years, it's like 5 years. Before then, I didn't have one. But I feel like that they're kind of pushing me in a different direction, and it makes it, you know, like for all the things like traveling and all of that, they kind of look after so much, which is really good. But I was just going to talk about one of my assistants who I worked with her since she was work experience from Wimbledon, and she went right up and she's supervised for me for years and years. And now, earlier this year, she's actually just signed with Casarotto, like just before COVID, as, you know, to be a kind of a young designer, like sort of picking up, doing all the smaller stuff that, you know, people, they you know, there's definitely a place for that. So, you know, that's a kind of a way to do it. I mean, I don't know how, like, I don't know what the answer is to get one. That's how Helen got her agent, but, you know,
how did you get yours? Did you ask?
It was a producer I was working with. He was like, how have you not got an agent? And I was like, I don't know, I've just always worked. So it's like, it's never been like something that I've needed, because it's not like I've ever had like a kind of a quiet spot. So I've always been busy. And then he was like, Casarotto are really creative and they're really nice. They've got good reputation for having these kind of like nice creative people. And he's like, I think it'd be a really good fit. And I met a couple of other agents, but I preferred them, and they wanted to take me. So it was, yeah, that's how I got them. And what's nice is you get one for each different area. So it's one who does film, one who does commercials, 2 people do TV drama, and then Amy who does like comedy and that kind of thing. So it's quite nice. They're experts in each area. And, you know, you don't have to do an invoice. It's the best. That's the best. You don't have to talk about money ever again. It's the worst, because it's when you're creative, it's so hard to be like, yeah, I need to be paid for this. So, you know, they take that having that taken away is just like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I think the way that I work with, I've had my agent for a long time. So I think I felt like I've got no desire to live in London, but I'm sort of not naive enough to believe, you know, I understand that a lot of the industry's in London, and I thought it would be good to have an agent who would, I mean, having an agent is like having a cheerleader. Now, they don't necessarily get you, I mean, I guess that's sort of happening more now, but I think all of my jobs that I've done, I've initiated. So they don't get me work, although they do get approaches for stuff. So I do get sent stuff, and I'm working on something now which has come through my agency. But up to now, what they've been really good at is advising about what's a good thing to do. And also, like when I dealt with HBO to sort of negotiate the Game of Thrones deal, they could handle all of the legalities and negotiate a higher fee for me than I would have asked for if it had been up to me. But I got an agent by, I contacted like 5 different agencies and invited them to come and see Goth Cruise, my second film. And Matthew Bates, who's my agent from Sail Screen, which is like a literary place, he's got loads of female filmmakers. So he has Andrea Arnold, Carol Morley, Clio Barnard, and Yorgos, who made The Lobster and The Favourite. So he has all of, they don't have loads of people, but I always know that if I phone up Sail Screen, they'll take the call and give me great advice. So it's really not, it's just really good. If you do, you know, I sort of feel like I'm in the film industry by accident. So it's really nice to have allies that are super experienced and they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, they've taken on a few people who I love working with, like Erica Ockvist and Amanda MacArthur have gone to Casarotto, and because it would just be so nice. The ideal is that you all like under the same house umbrella, and then you all get to work on films together as, you know, as your own HODs, and you have the best time and really good laugh. And you know, and make a great show at the same time. That's like the dream. So yeah.
Well, should we go back a little bit to talk about some of, I think, iconic stuff from your careers? I don't think we could not talk about Nessa, particularly with you, Claire. I think her clothes definitely are half the character. You know, it's, you know, the expression. You know, when you see Ruth on a chat show or whatever, she seems to be such a different type of person.
Yeah, I mean, Ruth, yeah, she's so delicate and beautiful, and she's so powerful and sort of sexy. And when Ruth puts on the clothes, she's like, you know, she pulls on those boots and like fleshy. She just feels like unstoppable and gorgeous, and you know, and so it makes me laugh. That jacket on Dave always makes me. That I loved when I found that. I was just like, oh my god, it's so Dave. The wedding dress was, I was reading the scripts for, I think it's the end of series 3, and I fell asleep. I had a baby by then and fell asleep reading the scripts, and we hadn't actually talked about what Nessa's wedding dress was going to be like, but I dreamt this silver leather studded dress that Gwen made, like, you know, that Gwen could have made. And I fell asleep and dreamt it, but I was literally like, I was on set looking at the monitors, seeing it on set. And I then went to kind of talk to Ruth and James and Chris Gurn and the director and the producers at Baby Cow, you know, to talk to them about it. And they were like, oh no, we kind of imagined it'd be this kind of 70s Victorian thing. And I was like, tell them about this dream. And they were like, okay, kind of draw it down. I'm not the best drawer. I'm better at making stuff, but like we've got a design together. And they loved it. And they just kind of, because when you kind of go, I've had a dream, they're a bit like, okay. And, you know, sure about that. And then, you know, it kind of went up to the BBC, like you know, the comedy commissioners, and they really liked the idea. And then I had Claire Ramsell, who's made quite a lot for me, and she did Hattie with Ruth, made it through Academy Costumes, who I've worked with since I was at art college. So they, you know, just get the way I like things to be, and we work really well together. So yeah, it was good. And it does look like it's Nessa's dress, and it looks like it, you know, Gwen made it. It should look like that. It shouldn't be like a kind of this amazing wedding dress. It should be something a bit weird and wonderful. And then that kind of, the headdress, the veil thing was just in a box at Academy, and it's this like mad 60s thing. So we decided that was Dave's mum's one. That's her contribution to the wedding.
And is it important for you to have those kind of like in the back of your mind, like, oh, this is the reason that they've got this badge on, or they've got
absolutely this. Yeah, you know, I give myself a backstory, like sometimes like too much, you know, it's just like, what are you on about? It's like, but I constantly like think about where they would have found it. Could they pick this up at a flea market? Who gave them that? Or, you know, is this something heritage? Like, you know, we all wear different bits from all over the place. So it's quite nice. And I like to have, when I'm doing a fitting, like a big rack of stuff I like it to be like, when I'm doing a fitting, it's like playing dress up. So we have boxes of bits and pieces and fabric, and it's nice to kind of cut at stuff or drape stuff or put hats on. I always have loads of glasses and accessories. So when the artists come in, that they feel like they can like play around and mess around and try things, and just kind of like, you develop the characters that way, but you kind of do it in a fun, light-hearted way, rather than sort of going, you're going to wear this, and being kind of very, you know, it's much more kind of like free. And then, you know, a lot of my fitting photos, we're always laughing. So hopefully that's a good sign that we have a good time while we're creating.
Jeanie, do you take advantage of the fact that you have a costume designer for a sister?
I don't think I take enough advantage of it. I've got when Stephen and I got married, Claire phoned me up and she said, put film 4 on now. And I was like, okay, put it on. And it was all about Eve. And she just said, look at Betty Davis's dress.
But Claire Ramsell made your dress too.
Yeah, so Claire bought the fabric, and I went into Academy, and I got married in a recreation of Betty Davis's dress from All About Eve. It was
and it's the same person who made Nessa's dress.
And then when I had a premiere at Tribeca, last year, and when I got nominated for a BFI and had to go to the awards ceremony, like I used to be scared of having my photo taken, so terrified of it, and so I'm always like, Claire, what can I wear? So I've had dresses custom made, which is really lovely. I mean, the thing I've always thought with Claire is that, you know, she's taught me how to just enjoy. I've always loved wearing clothes, but I guess she's just made me just feel much more like, yeah, it's a total joy, isn't it? It's a joy to wear interesting things that express who you are, whether you're a teenage goth or, you know, old lady in a Liberty print. Like,
yes.
You know. Also, you know, how you know, being a documentary maker is like being a nerd, you know, a nerdy backstage person who isn't in front of the spotlight. So actually when you have to go and do that press junket or stand on the red carpet, if you put the right costume on, you know, it's like being in drag. You can just step into being
like live it,
a different person. It's amazing.
I think it's anything. I was not wearing this earlier. I was wearing a t-shirt as I went to the shop with a bandana over my face, as in this post-apocalyptic reality that is now. And I was like, oh Christ! I put jewelry on for the first time, and I felt like I could be work.
I know. I put some Georgian earrings on today because I was like, oh, love, and put a nice dress on and put makeup on. It makes you feel good. Eleanor, I'm going to send
my
you a
grandma's
mask.
antique ring on today for extra power.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a mask, Eleanor, because I feel like you need a Liberty print.
Do you know what I do?
I think everyone needs them. I mean, if it could, I'm actually
I have a Liberty print wash bag, but that's it.
At the moment, I'm
before we're nearly out of time, which is amazing. It's gone so fast. It's been so fantastic to talk to you both. But I suppose the last sort of question is we're all stuck at home. We're all doing the best we can to stay creative. Have you got any kind of top tips for young people starting out in the career or who would like to get into the career of how to look after themselves from the get-go? Because obviously those skills that you take straight away will see you through difficult times like this. Is there any kind of, I know it's putting you on the spot a bit, but is there any kind of like bit of advice that is, this is how you get through this industry?
I mean, my advice to anyone that I interview, because I tend to, like I said before, I promote within the team, but there's always the entry level, trainee level is always the person, we always take new on every job usually. And, you know, when they come for the interview, it was like, you don't need to know anything. You don't need to know anything. You need to, like, you know, have an interesting costume and the way the film industry works. But we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you all of that. What I need you to be is like, you love getting up early. You can hopefully drive because you're going to be doing a lot of, like, you might do a coffee run and like find the joy of doing the coffee run, because also you will, you know, my last job, you know, Georgia was like amazing at computer stuff that I didn't even know was possible. And, you know, it's really nice to just embed yourself in a team and just kind of just be a really can-do person. Like that's, I think that's the nice, like, just and enjoy it, kind of enjoy being around, because you will get to do, yes, you're going to do a lot of unpacking clothes, yes, you're going to do a lot of ASOS returns, you're going to do a lot of hanging stuff up, but you're also going to have a really good laugh, and you will just take each job as, and what my big saying is work breeds work. So, you know, if something comes across, do it, and it might not be paid well and it might not be exactly what you want to do, but it will probably, you might meet somebody on that job that, you know, I did Big Train, I met Julia, and that, you know, changed my career. And just do things that you enjoy and try and be creative. Just do it, and just be nice to have a laugh. I think that's the best thing.
Definitely. I mean, I would completely agree as well. Like I'm lucky in now that I pretty much control who works on my films, and there are a million creative people out there, but I'm going to employ people who are fun to be with, who get it. So everyone I work with works for the good of the film and supports each other. And I would absolutely say it's so important to be kind, be nice. You don't want a diva on the team. You want someone who's going to go and who's going to drive and pick something up and be kind and look after the rest of their team. There's only 7% of filmmakers are women. So I'm trying to bring people up. So I'm currently mentoring a Northern Irish filmmaker called Sian McElwain to make her first film. Sian is amazing. And I try and employ. Only 4% of composers are women, so I've employed 2 female composers on the last 2 films, not for representation, but because they're absolutely amazing. Hannah got an Emmy nomination for her work. But I think I sort of feel like you breed a better industry if you're good to people. So if you work for me, you get paid on the same day that you invoice. Sounds like a basic thing, but it's so important. And you look after people. Everyone works hard, but you play hard as well. And it's good fun. You have to be good at doing the rubbish, boring jobs.
It's the grunt work. The grunt work is very boring.
The grunt work well, because we're all doing the grunt work. We all have to do the rubbish stuff.
And it be really, it makes such a difference. And, you spend so many hours with your team. It's, they're your work family. So it has to be, you go through so many highs and lows with them, and, they're there to support you as well, and it's okay not to know everything. I think just,
And if you
pretend you do, I guess.
Yeah.
If you want to start making documentaries, I would really recommend people get a phone, any phone. You might have, this is a really great phone, my new phone, which I love, but film something on your phone and prove it. It's much better to show than it is to tell. I'd be much more likely, you're going to get into a film festival, or you can learn and meet people. And I would also go to things like Sheffield Documentary Festival and find your brethren, because it's such a fun and democratic and good place to go and get to know people, really.
Thank you both so very much for taking part in this, and thank you for not stopping for existing. And there's so much more happening, so if you go to Not Stopping's Twitter account or their website, you'll see it's at Not Stopping everything else that's going on today, and you might find some more interesting conversations and how-tos. Thanks also to Alex and the team at Film Hub Midlands Network and Broadway. I hope all of you Nottingham folk watching are excited as I am to come back when we're able, and well, to everywhere in Nottingham. It's got such a great, brilliant independent spirit. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming and joining us today.